Well, let's start, shall we, at Stamford Bridge, where there were boos after Chelsea lost at home to Southampton. Just 1 win in 10 for Graham Potter, who insists he's the man for the job. But does that performance show the challenges he continues to face at Stamford Bridge, Sue?
Yeah, well, it's not good enough for a Chelsea side, and we spoke about it when he first came into the job. It's completely different to when Graham Potter was at Brighton. The expectation is so high. The fact that they've brought in and spent so much money, you have to be doing better than what you're doing. But I do think that there's mitigating factors, and I do think that time is needed. And I know a lot of Chelsea fans won't want to hear that, because it's difficult when you're watching your team losing and you're watching your team not scoring goals. But I do think the amount of injuries that they've had has played an impact. I think the fact that they've had a lot of players that have come in, and he's trying to turn all of these very talented individuals into a team. But yeah, it isn't good enough, and it has to change quickly, because Chelsea fans aren't happy, and rightly so.
This time last year, Brighton were on a 6-game losing run. In fact, they only won 1 game from the beginning of January until April. So this is an unusual territory for Graham Potter. And you would think, actually, with a record like that, did he have the right credentials to go in at Stamford Bridge?
This is one of the questions we said, and what we spoke about when Graham Potter got the job. We said he wouldn't be able to do that at Chelsea. Now, I think if Abramovich had been in charge, I think he'd have already been gone. Yeah. I really do. I think what's interesting now is we don't see what goes on with the Chelsea hierarchy now. How often are they at the training ground? Who is Todd Bowley's person on the ground, in and around the team, to see what players' body language is like, to see what Graham Potter's doing behind the scenes to try and rectify this situation? Is he doing everything within his power? Can you see signs of progression? I think one of the issues that probably Chelsea fans have is are Todd Bowley's men football people? Do they understand the game enough to see what Graham Potter's trying to improve? I think with Todd Bowley as well, and you look at his role within, I think it's the LA Rams, isn't it, is that he likes to keep a coach in charge for a long time. He likes that continuity within a group of people. However, results do dictate what's going on. Fans dictate what goes on as well. And when you start to get booed off at your home ground in the way that they were, it's not a great sign. However, I still think they should have won the game. Missed opportunities, chances created. He can't do much about that. He can't do much about it. He's putting ideas in people's heads, as in putting patterns of play in place on the pitch.
Can you see those, though? Can you see it? Because that seems to be the gripe coming from Chelsea.
Yeah, no.
There seems to be no idea. You know, what's the game plan here?
Yeah.
Chelsea
and I think that's
are reactive, not proactive.
Yeah,
they're sitting there. They don't seem to have any clue what to do.
When we talked about Ten Hag before, they look like a team who has worked hard on the training ground, and there's an idea and there's patterns of play when they go onto the pitch. I'm saying that Graham Potter might put them in place, but the players aren't putting them onto the pitch, and that's the worrying concern when you look at Graham Potter. Are his ideas being put onto the pitch by the players? I don't see it at the moment, and that is a major concern. I think he's in trouble at the moment. I really do. Whether it's a fault of his own or whether it's the players not believing in what he's doing and what he's putting onto the training ground.
Well, yeah, surely your job as a manager is to get the players to believe.
Yes, but your ideas have got to be right, and the players have got to understand and buy into what you're doing. If they don't do that, there's nothing you can do.
And I think it's clearly a long-term project, isn't it? They've brought in some of the best young players from around the world. So they're looking at it for... It's a project that Graham Potter was going to try and get all of these young players to, be one of the best teams in the world. That takes time. We know that he likes to create culture and an environment, and that does take time. But I totally get what you're saying, that a lot of fans are looking at it and saying, well, we're not seeing those patterns. But again, that takes time to build. It can be sort of disjointed.
Does it take? Because Thomas Tuchel came in January in a team that was bereft of confidence after the departure of Frank Lampard, and oh goodness me, he went and won the Champions League in the May. So I mean,
but this is the other thing, isn't it? If Potter is to leave, and someone else comes in and fixes it straight away and gets it, because that's what they're going to have to do. Yeah. They're going to have to fix it straight away. and make sure that their ideas get put across straight away. That's where I think the players aren't quite invested in what he's trying to achieve. That's my concern with it, because I've worked under managers before where you walk in, you go, I get what he's trying to do, I see it and I understand it. I've had other managers where you're thinking, you really, is this serious? Is this what's going on? And you get the players within the changing room. I think the other interesting side of it is whether people like it or not, the players will be asked by the hierarchy, do you believe in him? Is he the right man? Yeah. Are you seeing signs now that this is going to come good? Yeah. And that is what will be happening behind the scenes, I'm sure.
Well, Chelsea are as close to the bottom three as they are to the top four right now. And if we had a table from the World Cup resumption, look at that, Chelsea in 12th as far as this sort of second part of the season is concerned. They're assembling a great squad for the Championship if they carry on this way, aren't they? Because their current form, you cannot, if you're Chelsea, lose to the bottom team in the Premier League 1-0 at home.
No, I know.
You cannot do that.
You can't, and I think that, again, is probably why we're discussing this again, because of you sort of see signs of improvement maybe in the Champions League. We saw signs of improvement where they played really well. The problem was the scoring. They did get beat, and it was the scoring of the goals. So it's the creating opportunities is brilliant, and we are seeing little glimpses of they played well, but they got beat. They didn't score the goals that they should have scored. They created opportunities, but I think once you then go and get beat at home to bottom of the league side that are really struggling, again, that just emphasises.
I think that can happen.
Makes more of it. It can happen.
That can happen whether you're top of the league or not. But the worrying concern, Rob, is everything.
It's the manner of it as well. Chelsea were reactive to what Southampton were doing rather than on the front foot proactive against the team bottom of the table. Yeah, that's the worry.
Yeah, and that's the concern. It's not like you've dominated the game and there's been. It's not like a Manchester City against Nottingham Forest performance where you say, could have won the game, that many goals, and it was just one of those games that you just put to bed because the results or before that had been okay. Because the results haven't been okay, it gets magnified even more, and that's the issue. But that's the pressure you get when you go and become Chelsea manager, and that's part and parcel of it. Graham Potter's not daft. He knows he's under pressure, and he knows going into Chelsea that this will be his biggest challenge in football, and we all knew it. Because of the magnitude of the size of the club of Chelsea, the money that they've spent, it was always going to be a huge job. Will he be given time? Time will tell. The next game, if he is in charge in the next game, is huge for him, and he'll know that as well.
But what do you do? Can you have the time? If you can't change, I mean, Chelsea have given it a pretty good try, haven't they? They can't change the entire squad until you find players who will buy into what he's saying.
Yeah, and it's I agree, and it's also difficult when you have got so many players as well to choose from, because you can see that he's trying to change things. He's bringing different personnel on. He's trying to find a system that works, a team that works, the personnel fitting together, and it just isn't quite gelling. I think we always go back to they're not scoring enough goals, and they're not, and that has to change, because you're getting yourselves into decent positions, but you're not finishing off that opportunity. So we all know it certainly isn't good enough for Chelsea at the moment, and Graham Potter will certainly know that he's under pressure. He will have known that taking the job, that you take a job like Chelsea, the expectation and the pressure is so much higher than when you're at Brighton.
Should he have managed to find I know, okay, there's a lot of talk. He seems to have frozen out Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but that seems to be almost no way back there. So
that's his prerogative to do that.
Yeah, he's closed that
every
door,
right to do that.
Which is fine.
Yeah, because he did bring him in.
If you're then scoring goals. Do you think there are other managers who could have found a way? I mean, Pep Guardiola played for a long time without a number 9, found a way to score goals. Yeah. Other managers do it. Thomas Tuchel managed to do it.
Chelsea won the Champions League without a striker.
Yeah. So it is can we sit there and go, oh, well, it's really sad for Graham Potter because he hasn't got a number 9. You've got to find a way through that.
Yeah, but in another way, you look at this and say, Graham Potter is thinking long term. So he's believing he's going to be in this job for the long term. That's why he's outed Aubameyang. He must be thinking, he's not for me long term. So I need to try and move with this squad now. He must be that confident that he's in this job for a long time. And he'd rather do it his way rather than succumbing to all the pressure of doing it a different way. He believes in his philosophy and what he thinks is right, and you've got to admire that in a way. You have to, whether it's sort of a little bit naive from his point of view, and you just sort of go with your tail between your legs a little bit and say, listen, I'm sorry. I don't think Aubameyang's performed to the level where he deserves to play week in, week out. He hasn't done enough to say you should be the number 9. I don't believe so anyway, but it's finding that balance. Havertz, is he your number 9? Is he a striker? Is he going to score you a hatful of goals? I'm not so sure he is either, but this has always been a concern. They brought Lukaku in, he didn't score goals. It didn't work for him.
It's been a problem for a while, hasn't it? That has been a problem, the goal scorer. But it is the way that Graham Potter wants to play. He wants to play with that fluid, mobile front 3, front 4, however you want to say. He did that at Brighton. So it's...
Well, they would struggle for goals.
Well, and this was the other point I was going to make, is almost De Zerbi's come in and he's took Brighton to a different level. Now they are finishing opportunities. They can be wasteful at times, but he's given them a clinical edge now. And that has almost highlighted what Graham Potter couldn't correct, both at Brighton and at Chelsea, because De Zerbi's took Brighton, I believe anyway, this is only my opinion, to another level. And he's stepped them up a level, and they are more clinical in the final third. They're a little bit more quick in getting up the ball up to strikers and more threatening. So that has also highlighted probably a few flaws in Potter's system.